Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. I had to go and grab something real quick, and I thought I could go and do it and come back before the intro ended and whatnot. And no, I was not fast enough. So, here's the music. So, it is Thursday. We do have non-farms payroll in about a minute. Let's come over to the charts very quickly. Was kind of another interesting day because we continue to get all sorts of wild fluctuations. Can't really see it on the daily chart there. We are kind of trending down a little bit, but yeah, there was like a huge spike, but now we actually are going a little bit lower. So I don't know if that kind of regional banking crisis fears will come back or not. I think that it will be pretty random. Here's the ES. Did pretty good yesterday. Oil is shooting up this morning. It's curious. Gold and silver kind of getting hammered along with the treasuries, so that move down may actually be significant. Copper still struggling. China still struggling. And the dollar back above 104. Oh, and interesting, Bitcoin also taking a quick little jump. I think that there was some Michael Saylor buying or some sort of story like that. Oh yeah, sorry. Did I say non-farms? I meant unemployment. Yeah. Unemployment claims. It's like the most significant piece of news that we've had this week. So pretty important news coming up here. And I see a slight little move down. Initial jobless claims 218 versus 220, so not a huge deal. We do have a 30-year bond auction today too, by the way, and some Fed speakers. Yeah, looks like they're gonna move down a little bit. I don't know. I think that that's not enough. Like, the regional banking thing could just come roaring back. Oops, I need to turn off the speaker. So what do we do with this? I could try going short. Like, what I'm seeing is the trade is down, but there's still that risk that something is going to pop up out of nowhere and buy it out. Good morning, Dewey. So I'm not quite sure what to think of all of that. I don't know. I don't think that I should take trades today. I do not feel super sharp. I woke up, I had a hard time answering my questions. When I wake up, it gives me math questions to wake me up, to turn the alarm off. I had a hard time answering the questions, even though they were easy questions. It was like I was slow to wake up. I think that for whatever reason, I had a hard night. The kids did throw real fits for a long time. Like, I went into his room and slept in his bed for a while. Well, my wife got them to calm down. I think that they needed medication, but so I think that that's why I'm a little but we'll see. Okay, Fed's Barkin is on Bloomberg TV right now. That's only happened once before, August 8th, 1929. Why Wall Street is suddenly freaking out about the markets collapsing internals. Yeah. Oh, now you're concerned about the markets collapsing internals. Gotcha. Red Sea crisis sends mayor's shares crashing as outlook darkens. U.S. women have become more liberal, men remain stable. I kind of, when I see those sorts of things, at least in the United States. I do wonder how much the abortion issue is really just driving women becoming more liberal and nothing else. When I look at other countries, I can't justify it. Like, when I look at other countries, I think there's other things at work that have to be explaining why women are becoming more liberal and men becoming more conservative. But in the US, I do think that maybe abortion could be enough, you know? And that's interesting. Anything else we got going on here this morning? Well, Barkin's saying no hurry to cut rates. So, let's just watch here. I would say the selling in the 5-year is definitely there. Yeah, Barkin is talking about holding off on interest rates. Barkin be Barkin. There you go. Yeah. Oh, what is this? Barkin talking about the neutral rate has risen. There was some clicking and so forth on that, but not a lot of actual transactions going through on that. I'm seeing a lot of level 2 activity though, so it kind of looks like they will make a little move here, or they're kind of like they're shoving in the pit. They're shoving in the pit as Barkin is speaking here. Sweden on Wednesday dropped its investigation into the explosions in 2022 on the Nord Stream pipeline carrying Russian gas to Germany, saying it lacked jurisdiction in the case but handed evidence it had uncovered over to German investigators. The multi-billion-dollar Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines transporting gas under the Baltic Sea were ruptured by a series of blasts in the Swedish and Danish economic zones. Okay, that's an odd comment. Does that mean it was the United States and it's up to Germany if they want to do anything about it? What it sounds like to me, man. I'm just guessing. Leads to the conclusion that we do not have jurisdiction. Germans got screwed. I don't know. I do kind of think that I believe the story that it was the United States. Like, Biden said, made comments that suggested that he could do something, that they could destroy the Nord Stream pipeline. It's totally something that he would do. And the guy that posted the story about this is a good journalist. Of course, like, all of the sources have to be secret and everything. And I think that's why, they're able to question it. But I believe him. I think that Biden ordered them to destroy the pipeline. I don't think that any other scenario makes sense. And them saying we don't have jurisdiction, because if it was Russia, like, here's the thing, if it was Russia, they would just say, yeah, it was Russia, right? Why would they be like, oh, we don't have jurisdiction? That would only make sense if it was an ally, right? January 2024 was the hottest first month of any year in history, EU scientist warns. Meanwhile, in Florida, I haven't turned on my AC since October. Is it normally hotter this time of year? Because my understanding is that down south, it's been much warmer than usual. It is a strong El Nino year, so you got a lot warmer weather in the south. It's been colder a lot longer this winter. Maybe even Florida's not far south enough. Because basically what happens is you get the El Nino warm weather down in the south, and then you get like the polar vortex air kind of sweeps down. And what has happened is it started out pretty warm because we started out with a mild winter, and then that cold air swept down and you started getting these big storm systems coming through, and we've gotten a decent amount of weather this year. Open windows weather. Oh, okay. It's funny. I was like, oh, it's not too warm, but open windows weather. Like 54, to me, that's like hot. We actually, this last week, it was really warm up until this most recent storm blew through. And then it got really cold again. The global warming crowd really bothers me with the way that they approach these sorts of issues, because it's like anytime that there's a big storm or a big heat wave or a big cooling wave, they say, see, this is because of global warming. And it's like, well, actually, there's a lot of variation in weather on its own. And there has not been a single weather event over the last 20 years that was not like within the range of variation in weather, right? Like pointing at any one individual weather event and pointing at it as evidence of global warming kind of shows that you don't understand statistics and the science, right? Because it's the average of them over time that you're actually looking at. It just drives me crazy. And that's not, of course, the people that are saying, that's not necessarily the people that are saying it, but it just kind of shows me that even if, because I don't necessarily care or make a, conclusion, global warming is a thing or isn't a thing, it is man-made or it isn't man-made. But what I can tell you is that there are absolutely people and political forces in there that are 100% all in on global warming as a thing, and these are the specific policies that we need to do to prevent it, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the science and everything to do with their political goals. And the reason that I know that is because they're so anxious. They jump at every little chance they can to try and say, see, this is, even though it's complete BS, this is complete misunderstanding of the science and statistics. You can have why would I? So we've actually already kind of heard a few things about what is going to happen, like what's going to be in the interview. Like one of the things was, and I think probably the one that will get the most airplay is Putin basically said, oh, like who's in charge in the United States hasn't actually changed. It's the same people that have been in power in the United States for decades and decades and yada, yada, yada. YouTube won't let anybody stream it? Really? I tell you what, I really do not understand at all how the left became the pro-censorship party, man. It happened. I've watched it as it happened. It directly contradicts everything that I thought I knew about the world when I was like 16, you know? I don't know. It seems to me that the pro-censorship party tends to be the party that is has the most cultural power. And in the 90s, the left pretty much took complete sole control of US culture. And once they were in charge, it was, we got to censor all of the things. Because before that, they were kind of like the, stick it to the man, that sort of a thing. But it will be on Twitter. The other thing was like Ukraine put Tucker Carlson on their kill list. Like, what? These people are just freaking out over nothing, man. It's so crazy to me. Your workspace looks amazing. When you first said that, I was like, oh, thank you. I put a lot of work behind that scrolling thing behind me and the bookcase and all that. But no, you're talking about the actual screen. So yeah. If you go to my page, there is a video where I walk through the workspace. But really quickly, and this should only take like 5 seconds and we can complain about Tucker again. This is ZN. Let me use the ZN, or no, that's not Z. This is ZB, ZN, ZF, ES. Oil, 2-year, 10-year, 30-year. Okay, which is the opposite of this. This is a 30, a 10, and a 5. So these are the Treasury futures, like deliverables, and these are like interest rate futures. So they're opposite each other. That's why they're in different orders. And the way that the DOM is, this is like 1 DOM, depth of market. Okay. This blue are limit buys. The orange is the limit sells, right? And then the 2 columns on the inside are the market buys and sells being matched up against those. And then this column is just a volume profile, right? So that's what we're looking at. And we're looking at it across a bunch of different instruments because these treasuries are all very related. So I'm kind of watching, okay, when the instrument that I'm most interested in, ZN, ticks down, how do the other ones react? And what are the correlations there? So did you see there? 5-year ticked up, the 10-year ticked up, the 30-year didn't quite tick up. It's kind of having a hard time staying up there, but eventually it did tick up, right? That's kind of what I'm looking at. But if you really want to go super, super deep into it, there's a video on the page. Them putting Tucker on the kill list will just look horrible for them throughout history mentioning it now. If it turns out good and informative. Well, I don't think it's going to turn out good and informative, though. Like, Tucker's like, oh, well, shouldn't we interview the guy on the other side of the conflict? See what, just curious to see what he's like, what is his thinking, or at least, what is he saying? What does he want people to be thinking, whatnot? And I really don't think that anything all that interesting is going to come out of it. I kind of don't think that Tucker thought that it would be this big of a deal. Like, I don't think that Tucker would have predicted that he would get put on a kill list for doing this interview, right? I don't know. Some of y'all talking like Putin's gonna say something that's just gonna completely expose the Western hypocrisy and conspiracies and whatnot, and it'll be no. This is not gonna happen like that. It's just gonna say the same stuff that he always says. And Ukraine puts, yeah, somebody must be like a little trigger happy over there. Like, I just You look like Zelensky with the shirt. Okay. Yeah, the reaction to the interview happening is more interesting than the interview, says Uzi. I totally agree. Totally agree. Because to me, it's like a nothing burger. Like, I'm not going to sit and watch it. Like, I'm not going to be, oh, this is a big event. And as soon as it comes out, I'm going to be one of the first people to watch it, yada, yada, yada. Maybe I will end up being that because I'll be watching Twitter, but like, it's not interesting to me. I've seen Putin speak to journalists before. I've seen Putin give speeches before. I know what he tends to say. I don't find it very interesting. I mean, I think that not funding Ukraine and allowing them to lose this thing would be an extremely bad thing for the United States and for the West as a whole. We've already made some really, really big mistakes in that area because now who's going to trust you to actually defend them? And like our entire international prestige is kind of based on that. And you can already see it happening now, like with the Houthis, for instance, right? Like before, anybody would have to be crazy to, say, I'm a country, I'm going to go up against the United States. Maybe the Houthis are just crazy enough, right? But in general, it was a crazy thing. And even if you were crazy enough to do it, you're going to try and be smart about it. And now it's kind of like, just anybody does whatever they want because they don't think that the United States has the resolve to ever do anything about it. They're realizing that the worst that can happen is there's like airstrikes for a few months and then the American people get sick of it and they move on to something else. Right? And that's the calculation that Russia is making now. I think primarily because the way that we pulled out of Afghanistan, but yeah, there's absolutely no incentive. They know that if you have a president comes in and does a certain thing, right, then all you got to do is wait for the opposing party to get into power and they'll drop it. I mean, I think that when you go back to like the very early days of the country, like before Teddy Roosevelt's time, right? So like before the 1900s, and kind of look at how that goes and everything. Like the United States being kind of isolationist was, I think, a pretty good policy, a decent way for them to go, and of course they did have let's say episodes with other countries and stuff like that, but the situation after World War II was completely different, right? After World War II, the United States became a superpower because of its relationships and because of the global trade that we built up after World War II. Like it's a completely different situation. And so the United States credibility on the world stage to follow through with things is directly affects our overall prosperity. Well, now you're changing the subject, but when you consider the nuance of the scenario, recruitment shortfalls and plummeting standards for recruitment, we've screwed ourselves more than our enemies ever could, yeah. What do you think it would take to change that dynamic? I suppose you could have another like 9/11 type event, but I think that if you were like a terrorist or one of the United States enemies, that sort of a thing, that like the stupidest thing that you could do is attack Americans on their own soil, right? Because then that would just, make it like post 9/11, they'd come after you. It would like completely change the situation. I think that if you're one of America's enemies, that what you want right now is the American people to be complacent. So like do kind of things around the world that aren't quite enough to upset the American people, but still really, really damage the United States interests, kind of like what Iran is doing, right? Reddit braining your society. I'm not sure I understand that one. Like, so when you say Reddit braining, I think on Reddit, you get this hive mind of knowledge that is like all of the most popular things like people are interested in, and like some of these posts did well early on, and so that everybody knows that thing does well, and so that information just gets reposted over and over again. And if you come in and you try and upset their narrative, like I am wont to do from time to time, they, the hive comes out, right? You say something too conservative, you say that Trump didn't commit a crime on January 6th, they're just gonna like go ballistic, right? But I'm not sure I understand how that has been applied to all of society. I'm not sure I see that. Like when I look at the United States as a whole, what I see is a set of institutions that are not translating into the digital age very well, and a government that has basically become paralyzed and incapable of making the shift. Overthinking, coming to obviously faulty conclusions, and then destroying anything and anyone that questions it. I know, like, the thing that I find kind of odd and interesting about the way that American society has gone is that these kind of efforts to like enforce like some sort of like thought standard that it's like, if you believe X thing, then we're going to destroy you, yada yada yada, has not resulted in a homogeneous society. I think that there's kind of this effort to kind of create certain homogeneous opinions, and if anything, the country's just become more divided on those particular issues. Reddit braining is when you feel great about how much brain power you put into something. Okay, I don't know. I don't think that most Americans really think about, most people aren't problem solvers that are forced to do deep thinking and yada yada. I think that most people are creatures of habit and just want to talk with their people and don't think a whole lot about these things until it's time for the voting office. If anything, one of the issues that I see right now is what you're doing is you're taking those kind of average people and you're forcing them to be interested in politics all the time through social media. And they're not handling it very well, right? I think that politics and finance in particular require modes of thinking that are not natural to people, and that require you to totally immerse yourself in that world for years and years before it makes sense to you, right? You'd be surprised how many people believe stupid things because the perceived smart people believe stupid things. Well, that is definitely a problem. So I saw a TikTok just while I was eating breakfast that I thought was really good. And I will relate this story to you. So this person was talking about the jobs market because, you know, this one person, another video that she had stitched, was complaining that like there's for hiring postings everywhere. Like all of these companies need people and they're not able to hire enough people and yada yada yada. But then you go and you submit resumes to everything and you never get any kind of response. Like they don't actually hire you, even though you're qualified. And so this girl, she told the story that like they were a project management firm. So like they get together with like an architect or whoever it is. And, you know, those guys, they just know how to architect the building. So they need somebody to manage the project for them. So they hire somebody out from outside to kind of do all of the project management sort of stuff, right? But they did not have enough bandwidth to do it. So in order for them to get this company to sign on to the contract, they needed to hire 2 people for like these project manager roles. And so they went to like the recruitment and, you know, said, okay, here's the job that we need. And then 2 weeks went by and nothing happened. So this girl, they had a week where she wasn't doing anything because her clients were on holiday or whatever. So she went through and was like, okay, I'll help you guys look through resumes and make sure that we can get through this and find a qualified applicant. And she, you know, they had a meeting set up and she had found like a dozen or so resumes that she thought were qualified. And when she brought them to the meeting, every single one of them, the recruitment people were like, oh, well, we threw this person out as not qualified for this reason and this reason. And like the reasons were always like, well, even though this person has been actively doing this job for like the last 5 years, that's not what they went to university for. Or they did not graduate from a prestigious enough university for us to consider them. Right? And that was the reason why they were rejecting all of these applicants. So something that I see in the society that seems to be extremely strong, that seems to be an extremely strong force, and that is not being talked about a whole lot, is that humans very, very much so will look at like social proof for things. Social proof seems to be the most powerful force. If you got somebody and he has a bunch of people talking about him and about what he's teaching, doesn't matter how BS it is. It doesn't matter if he's completely scamming them and he's a narcissist and it's like so obvious and all of this sort of thing. People follow it. Social proof is like the most persuasive kind of argument that you can make to people. And the way that we have kind of structured our society, just because, you know, this was the way that it went and all of these sorts of things, was if you went to a prestigious school, you're super smart, right? You went to one of these Ivy League schools, then you're at the top of the game and you know everything and they believe everything that you say. So that, and if you're rich. And so that's how you get these things where it's like, oh man, I'm not going to use names. There's this guy on TikTok that I really don't like, that he went to an Ivy League school and then he went and he worked for Google, and he basically lived on nothing while he worked at Google for a few years, saved all of the money, and then retired early from it, right? And then he turned around and told everybody, oh yeah, go into computer science, you do great and everything. And he's out there on TikTok and talks about all sorts of random things, and it's like total Reddit brain sort of a thing, right? Like the things that he says are like exactly the answers that I would expect to see on Reddit on matters that he knows absolutely nothing about. And he's done that on many topics related to finance, where he's just completely told people like the exact opposite of what the reality is, right? But people listen to him because he retired early and all this sort of shit. I was like, well, you know, it was a little frustrating to me, because it's like, well, I think I actually know more about the domain, the knowledge domain that we're talking about than you do, right? It's just that you work for Google in California and I work in Salt Lake, and that's the only, and I have a family. That's the only difference. Otherwise, I would have probably done exactly what he did, right? But they listened to him because because of the school and all that sort of shit, right? And then the problem is that there's like some real rot in some of the academic institutions now. It's not what it was, and it doesn't mean what it meant before. Okay, it's like a different situation when you have so many people and the interconnected world and all of this sort of stuff, right? These sorts of heuristics that our brains are wired to go towards work against you in this hyper-connected world. And it's just like, I just feel like everybody's completely clueless about it, you know? Like, especially when it comes to like competitive things, like watching the day trading subreddits, is just comical. It's comical, guys. In a competitive market, doing what everybody else is doing isn't going to give you a competitive edge, right? So anything that is popular on Reddit are going to be the least useful things to you. Like if you've been listening to my live stream every morning for a couple of months, you watched all of the important videos about order flow and all that sort of stuff. If you go on Reddit and you see a popular post, they should be saying stuff that you already know. If it's actually useful, you should already know it, you know? The more people think they are experts. Every time that you guys mention the Dunning-Kruger effect, it just brings me back to this thing that I think that people misunderstand what the researchers were trying to say with the Dunning-Kruger effect. The researchers were not trying to say that stupid people are more confident. They were trying to say that lack of confidence leads to acquiring the skills. Do you get what I mean? They're saying those, you know, if you weren't confident in math, then you felt like you had to work hard. And so you spent more time on it. You had to really think about it and do all of those things. And so you actually have the competence built through experience, having spent all of your time thinking about that particular thing. And the people that are confident, they don't think about it at all. They think, oh, I know this, and they don't deal with it at all. And so they don't actually build the brain power to be able to think and do things. Humility is probably the single most powerful trait you can have in trading, I think. So I always say, like, the worst thing that can happen to you in trading is have success right off the bat, right? Because then you won't learn. when you go down that route, what happens is you have a little bit of success, you become a popular thing, and then you're a influencer or whatever, and you never progress in your trading beyond that. After that, that's what happens. And yeah, there's some people out there that, like, you know, their parents went to the school, so they get to go to the school. They're not actually trying. They're not actually like doing the work and building up the competence. Thinking, like, that's the thing, is to be smart, you got to think. And then then we still give these people prestige, and so they turn around and they think they know everything, and they give us BS. You know, they lead the population down the completely wrong path. And yes, I'll say it. Even though I'm a Republican, I'm probably going to vote for Donald Trump, but I see this effect with Donald Trump too. I don't think that it really makes a whole lot of sense anymore that Donald Trump is like the most powerful politician in America, and people follow him. And I think that there's a lot of benefits to the skills that he did have, but ultimately I don't think that he's really equipped to deal with the problems that we have right now. But because he's rich, right? And there's this effect that if you have the name recognition, you run as a politician, you win every time. Right? Like if I all of a sudden, if something weird happened and this stream like just totally blew up, okay? And all of a sudden I was like a household name, okay? Like let's say that all of a sudden I was as recognizable as Kevin. What's his last name? You know what I'm talking about. He's in the finance space. Kevin. Is it Meet Kevin? I don't remember. Anyways, let's just say that I was as recognizable as that, and I think that I could run for any office in Utah and win it, probably. At that point. Just purely on name recognition. I mean, I might not be able to go like directly for governor, but I could probably work my way up if I had that kind of name recognition. It really is that powerful. And I hate it. Like that. That's the thing, is that I think I could do that. I think I could pull that off. I think I could turn around and say, well, see, here's what I do, and here's you should listen to me because I'm this rich guy, or something like that, right? I think I could pull it off, but I don't think it would help you. So don't do it. And then I kind of look at all of the people that do that, and it just kind of makes me despise them. Not because it's like, oh, they're having success and doing something that I could be doing, but I'm not doing, but just because it's like you're clueless, and like the harm that I feel that you're doing when you do that sort of thing is it I hate it. It gets to me. I had a female friend like that. Her parents are powerful lawyers, so she went into higher education as well. She failed miserably, simple, no mental capacity. Now she does manicure. That's funny. Oh, man. Well, it is this whole thing that like generational wealth usually doesn't last more than 2 generations. Usually by 2 generations, that wealth is gone. And you'll run into all these situations where like the kids will go into some entrepreneurial venture or something like that and just completely blow the money and be completely incompetent at it. And why is that? Well, because the reason that the parent was able to build the money was because of all of the experiences that they had while they were struggling. And then when their kids don't have to struggle for anything, they don't build up that knowledge and experience, and so they're not able to be competent. Right? when we have success in trading, you know, I often try to downplay it, right? Because what I don't want to have happen is it go to your head and you think, okay, now I'm the great trader and I can relax and stuff like that. I want you to think and act like you are always the bottom of the barrel. You're struggling. You don't have it figured out. You're screwing up right? Because you're going to work harder. You're going to learn more doing that. Yep. And it's so curious to me that when they had a study that basically kind of showed this effect at work, that everybody misinterpreted it to, oh, the most confident people actually tend to be the dumb ones. That's not what the study was trying to say. Yep. Well, because I think that kind of my larger goal in life is to create that generational wealth. Like, my hope is that a grandchild will be a billionaire. That's kind of my goal. I don't think there's enough time for me to become a billionaire. Maybe it could happen. Maybe we start that fund. It becomes a thing. It becomes the largest hedge fund in the world, and I'm a billionaire. It could happen. Okay, but I'm kind of more like, how do you set up this thing where it's like you teach them the things that they need to know and need to do, and give the kid the best chance of having that success. And one of the problems that you run into when you actually start to think about this from a practical perspective is that the things that you're going to do to try and instill that into kids are, things that a lot of people, you ever thought about rich people and they have all of these expectations put on them and their parents are really strict and all of these sorts of things and they just want to be free. But it's like, those are the kind of strategies that are going to be the most likely to keep the wealth going in the family, right? How do you balance that? I don't know. I'm just kind of looking at the treasury here, and I'm realizing that after that news, like, it's basically been 4-tick range since that news, so it's super tight again. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, well, so we don't have anything tomorrow. Tomorrow is a no news Friday. For like the first week, well, technically the first week in February, really, really light. Next week is probably, well, okay, so Tuesday is CPI. So maybe after CPI, the treasuries will be a little bit more free, you think? Because like this week has been a little discouraging. Like, that's not, if it's going to be like that for the next few months, every day for the next few months, that's going to be pretty discouraging. Yeah, there's a 30-year bond auction today. I'd say that the action is really tight for an auction day, but build a company and make your kids start at the bottom of the age of, well, yeah. Well, that's one of the strategies that I've heard richer people talk about, but I think, for instance, to come to the knowledge of finance and economics that I have, it's extremely difficult to put that into a child. I don't think that, and they're going to be interested in it. Like it's almost inevitable that it's going to come out that by the time they're actually interested in it, the best opportunity is already passed, you know? I don't know if... Yeah, I think about that with the older kids, because I didn't really understand or have the chance to really instill values into the older ones, being the step parent and everything. But with the younger ones, I don't even know if it's applicable anymore, because my older 4-year-old, he just turned 4. I don't know if he's ever... He may just be level 3 autistic and dependent on us for the rest of his life. That's a pretty strong possibility at this point. Rhythmic fall, I don't know what you mean by that. So I don't know what it was about your comment, but that just reminded me of something that I did yesterday. So you want to see something that I did yesterday? Or that I didn't make anything from it. I was like thinking about making something off of it, and then I decided not to. I was like, I don't want to waste time on this. I spent some time yesterday. I'll show you here. I got my robot working on Kubernetes yesterday, so there was a couple little things missing, but I was able to get it to work with K3. So I use Arch Linux and K3. And then I have a Docker container based on the Python. The Python Docker image. And it runs my robot. So now that works, and if I wanted to put the robot in the cloud, I could do that. But it's been going all night. Is checking people. So I'd say it totally works. Pretty happy about it. That's what I spent the time on. But something that I was thinking about getting into was the alligator. Are you guys familiar with the alligator strategy? So here's the interesting thing about it. Let me show you something. I got it because there was a guy posted on Reddit like a back test, but it was a back test in TradingView. And the results of it looked really, really good. But the results that he had, I was like, well, alligator, it basically ends up being kind of a momentum strategy. And the stats that he was posting didn't seem to make sense. And so I thought it's got to be the TradingView sim. So I wonder what would happen if I come in and I do it in NinjaTrader, right? Okay, well, so the first question is, does NinjaTrader have an alligator indicator? It does. Actually, it does. It's called, what is it? Wiseman. So I don't, because the guy that wrote the indicator was Williams. So I don't understand why they call it a Wiseman alligator. But they have one. Okay, let's add it to a chart. Cool. So you got 3 moving averages. Something that you might not notice right away if you're not used to looking at these sorts of things is that the data series are actually offset. Do you see that? Like the moving average is actually projected into the future, which means that what they're actually doing is they're taking like an 18-minute moving average or whatever it is, but then they're shifting it over by like 5 bars. Okay. And I forget the exact numbers, but they are shifting it over, which would be the same thing as like, look at what the moving average was 5 bars ago is really what you're doing, right? Okay. So that right away kind of triggers me, right? because basically what it does is by shifting the indicator over, it kind of makes the chart kind of look a certain way and gives the person the impression that like it's predicting the future or something like that, when it's kind of like a bit of a trick, right? Because if I told you, okay, you're gonna do a strategy based on a moving average, but you're not going to use the current bar's value of that indicator, you're going to use the value from 5 bars ago. Do you think that that's going to work as a strategy? I think most people's knee-jerk reaction would be no, because we all know that moving averages lag, right? That's the strategy. Okay, so let's go in and see if we can do something with it. First thing is, let's look at how the indicator works, right? Well, there's stuff out there I can read about it. It's a smooth moving average, which is basically just a crappy EMA. So you could just use EMAs, and there's 3 EMAs, and then, you know, they're pushed over a certain amount, right? Well, let's look at the code. You can't see the code. You can't see the code. So actually what's happening here is there's this company that makes this indicator and markets education based off of it and all of those sorts of things. And they made the indicator and got NinjaTrader to add it into their platform by default, but the code is not actually available. It's in a private DLL, and you can't add the indicator to a strategy to backtest it. So I could make my own Wiseman alligator. It would be very easy, and do the backtesting then. But that alone, just like, and also the understanding of the indicator turned me off so much. I was like, I don't waste my time with this. So isn't that interesting though? Because it's like a simple indicator, but they don't make the code available to you. The people that market this don't want people to see the code for it, even though it's like a stupid simple indicator. Let's see here. I had live trades through Rhythmic closing before the same trades on the NinjaTrader 8 demo when price reaches my take profit. Okay. So your live data is slightly faster than your demo data? Makes sense to me. Anyways, I maybe I will come back to the alligator at some point, because the alligator seems to me to be the most popular strategy out there next to the smart money concepts thing right now. Kind of laugh. I'm seeing more and more posts on Reddit that are like, okay, I'm using smart money concepts. I traded and I'm just losing and losing. What am I doing wrong? Like, well, because you're trying to use smart money concepts. It's nonsense. And then I'll see these people say, oh, smart money concepts is dumb. You don't need it. Here's how I do it. And then I look at it and I'm like, yeah, but you're making money in the same way that smart money concepts does. You're taking on excessive risk. Oh, okay. Let me do it again, but like not as slowly. There is an alligator indicator in NinjaTrader, but you are not allowed to see the code like you can all of the other built-in NinjaTrader indicators. The company that markets it has a relationship with NinjaTrader and had them put it into it, but the code is not available and you cannot use it in strategies. Yes, it's 3 moving average. It is. It's literally 3. Okay, it's a smooth moving average. This is what's so devious about it, right? Okay, it's a smooth moving average, which is actually really just an EMA, and they shift them. So it's like you take a 3, a 5, or 3 and 8 and a 13, I think it is, but then the 13 is shifted over by 5 bars, and 5 is shifted over by 3 bars, something like that. That's why you can see that the lines are drawing into the future. So it's kind of an illusion, kind of an illusion. It's just like Renko bars. You're going to put it on the chart and you're going to be like, oh, wow, that seems to like work really, really well. But it's kind of an illusion. When you look at it, think about it programmatically, shifting the data series over 5 bars is the same thing as looking at what the value was 5 bars ago. Right? So how effective do you think a strategy is going to be that's looking at the value of a moving average 5 bars ago? I would not be too confident on that one, you know? Yeah, so it adds a little mystique to it. The average trader doesn't understand what's going on. It looks good on the chart, and so they start going into it and trying to trade it. And that's just enough of a thing to where there's not a whole lot of people making a backtest about it. Tom in Zen has the bid stack. Just kind of thought maybe that most recent move up was maybe like, oh, okay, it's happening again, but I'm not seeing support for that in the volume yet. So now Ishimoku is, I think, a similar sort of a thing. I don't think I don't think Ninja Trader has an Ishimoku one, does it? No. I know that Lizard Indicators has an Ishimoku, but they sell it as their premium suite. I have mixed feelings about them now, because I think that you get a really good set of indicators from them for a really good price. But then they're just using that to upsell you on these other indicators that I don't think are really all that useful, and they sell for hundreds of dollars, and it's kind of silly, I think. All right, but they have an Ishimoku like that. Let's find the Ninja Trader Ishimoku. Here's one. Here's one that was ported. After all, nobody wants to sell something that works. Volume analysis, that seems an awfully vague term. There was, for a while, there was a bunch of people really selling volume spread analysis, and it was not at all what I think people would think that it was based on the name of it. Hey, what's your take on Renko bars? Don't use them. So Renko bars are cheating. Did I actually download it? Hold on. Yeah, I did. Okay. Yeah, so what Renko bars repaint, which means that it kind of says, okay, do we have a new swing? And then when we do have a new swing, it changes the look of the previous bars to fit that. So if you try to use Renko bars in your backtesting, it will basically cheat the backtester. It will give you prices that you would not have gotten in real life, essentially. Same with almost any of the non-time based bars. Like tick and range bars don't do that. The tick and range bars have their own biases that they introduce into it that are also very poisonous to a strategy. But yeah, Renko bars, they cheat. Now there's these one guys out there that they have put a ton of work into making Renko bars that don't repaint. But I'm just kind of like, why? Because the whole thing is that basically Renko there is a whole subset of indicators essentially that kind of fool you into thinking that they're really effective. Because what you're actually looking at is not what it would actually look like at that time, right? Another really good example of an indicator that does this is anything to do with like Gaussian curve fitting regression channels, sort of a thing. So if you put a regression channel on a chart, you'll be like, oh my gosh, like it matches this regression channel so perfectly. When it came over here, it bounced immediately after, and it came down here, it bounced immediately off of that. Yeah, except for the problem is that the day that bounce actually happened, that is not what the regression line looked like, right? You're taking today's regression line and projecting it over the past, and that's not what the line was at that time. So I'm trying to remember, because you guys mentioned VSA. I'm trying to remember what it was, and I think what I remember reading was that they were basically saying whenever you get a certain thing in the moving average, that's when you buy the dip. And I was like, well, this is stupid. That has nothing to do with volume spread analysis. But now but then it sounds so stupid to me. I'm like, nah, I must be thinking about something else. I'll look that up in a second. Didn't let me import that. Gonna do the deep dive. Did it even try and pull it in? Yeah, it did not. Indicator already contains a cached Ishimoku cloud. How? Where? Oh. Oh, okay. I already have one. I already have one and I just didn't find it. Because I needed to look in dev side. Da, 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 da. Another stellar open. Oh yeah, we should have that open here. And it's not too bad, but I mean, they closed higher yesterday, so perhaps why, if they get back to yesterday's low, I bet you that the treasuries start breaking out again, right? Oh man, and the Ishimoku cloud is like, you can't have those two things on top of each other for sure. And let's change this blue to like more of a cornflower blue. There you go. Oh, it's still so noisy on the chart. Eek. There is some pretty decent, I mean, they are pushing up. It's just, I'm not really seeing the super strong volume in the 10-year yet. Oh, that's yes, of course, it's always up. Treasuries are moving a little bit up, and I'm just not seeing the volume for it. Okay, so that's your Ishimoku Cloud. I could backtest that one too. Like if I'm gonna do like a let's destroy a, do a backtest and destroy a strategy. I think that the alligator and the Ishimoku Cloud are like the next two that I would look at. Ishimoku Cloud one might be interesting just because it's so exotic. We have Yellen speaking. Well, I haven't heard anything on the news squawk about that actually. Oh, you know what? I think that cab crashed. She hasn't moved the markets yet, so in extreme case, it's possible to see issues with selling that. Oh, she's testifying to the Senate Banking Committee, so that's probably going to go for at least an hour then. Gonzalo Green from Argentina, welcome. You're not the first person we've had from Argentina, actually. Okay, so next thing I was gonna do was volume spread analysis. There's a book. What's the name of the book? Maybe what she just said shoved us down. No, it must have been something I got on Amazon. What do you mean I am going places? I thought I had a book. Maybe I don't have a book. Oh, because I have viewers in Argentina. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I think that well, actually, let's go look. Good portion of my audience is not from the United States. It's true. But that's just because Americans are too lazy to be waking up this early. Yeah, my reaction when I wake up at every day, 5 a.m. It looks. We are the rare, those. You know it's true. Top geographies. 30. Only 34% United States. Can you believe that? I think though that it's probably like those numbers don't add up to 100%, and probably a large portion of them are they don't have cookies and they don't know where they're from. Okay. What is the difference between the closing price and the open price of the candle? And how does that distance compare to the volume traded? Oh, well, okay. I don't know if I've actually tried to backtest that sort of a thing, but that's where I'm kind of like, well, that's not going to be as effective as using the cumulative delta. Right? A lot of the things that you're going to get from that are going to be kind of trick you. Because you're going to get these, yeah. Let's see here. Short opportunity when the closing price is higher than the opening price for the current bar, but the volume is weaker on average than the past 2 days. That is an awful trade. That is a stupid trade. Because some of the most crazy, insane moves that you're going to get are going to be like on very little volume because all of the liquidity pulls. I was just memeing. Yeah, Uzi said, a man who lives life based on his own rules, striving for his passion, not distracted by societal norms or standards. Yesterday on TikTok, I came across the girl that had posted it wasn't like a video, it was just images, but they basically said that she had been, up sitting at her computer for the past 16 hours looking at candlesticks trying to pursue her passion. When originally she thought, I'll be a millionaire in 2 years and yada, yada, yada. Right. So basically she didn't have a whole lot of success in trading, but she's still working really, really hard at it. And I was like, turn back now. Turn back now while you're still young. Are those real things, alpha, beta, sigma males? I don't know. Okay, so I have something interesting to share about this one, right? So if you bring this conversation up on Reddit, people will say, well, the whole origin of the whole alpha, beta, sigma sort of a thing was with wolves, right? That they say that there's with wolves, there's the alpha of the pack and all of that sort of thing, right? Like that's how it's played out in the movie Up, which is basically Pixar's greatest movie. I don't know if it's actually like their best movie, but like that was like peak. It's the most Pixar movie, and everything after that was not a Pixar movie. I digress. Okay, they're all, there's the alpha thing that came from wolves. Well, the truth is that study was completely false. The person that was doing the study completely misunderstood what was going on, and it actually turns out that wolf packs are really families, and the alpha tends to be the mother and father. Okay, so that's what Reddit will tell you. But what I would say is, yeah, but humans are not wolves. And humans definitely have hierarchies. It's a significant part of us. And our brains are geared and built towards understanding and navigating hierarchies. So does that mean that there's like alpha males? I don't know. Probably a little bit more complicated than that, but it's probably more complicated than like the biggest, strongest guy is not the one in charge. Especially not in this day and age. Raymond says that Up is the best movie. I mean, so if we were gonna say like, what are the best Pixar movies? So I think that I would have to put Toy Story in there, and I would have to put WALL-E. I think WALL-E was really good, and I think Monsters Incorporated and Cars. I think if I'm honest, like, what's the best Pixar movie, which is to say the one that it has been the most successful and has had the largest cultural impact, it's probably Cars. There is not a child born since that movie came out that is childhood did not revolve around that movie. That is every male born. When did that movie come out? 2006. Okay. So there is basically not a person around that is under the age of 20 who's young, or there's not a man in this country under the age of 20 whose childhood did not revolve around the movie Cars. Okay. So that's a pretty big one. So we might have to say that one is like their best movie, right? Are you gonna name all of them? No. But okay, this is a point. Okay. Pixar movies timeline. Here's the thing. Can you do it like with this one? Oh, come on, where is it? Oh, I don't like that one either. I'm looking for a good timeline image to show you guys. For my age group, it was The Lion King. I remember when that movie came out too. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so here is a Pixar timeline. And right here is Up. Okay. So here's what basically happened. Okay. How do I know all this stuff? It was a big deal at my school because Ed Catmull went to the University of Utah, and we have a huge computer graphics institute at the University of Utah. So we're always talking about this. Okay. In 2009 was when Up was released, right? Pixar had this agreement with Disney basically from the very beginning, where Pixar was the studio and Disney was the one that was publishing it for them, right? And essentially what happened was Toy Story 2 was so successful, Disney really wanted them to make a Toy Story 3. And I guess Pixar didn't really want to do it. And so Disney basically at that point decided they were going to buy Pixar out so that they could, have a little bit, could coerce them into making things like Toy Story 3 and Cars 2, right? So basically what happened was Up was basically already done by the time that Disney had taken over. Okay. Toy Story 3 was kind of like the halfway point. Like half of Toy Story 3's development happened after the Disney thing. So Toy Story 3 was kind of okay. And then you got Cars 2. And Cars 2 was just like a complete dud. So just a complete dud. And you will notice when you look at all of their stories, okay, there is a theme behind all of the Pixar movies. All of the Pixar movies have to do with our relationships between each other and how our relationships with each other make us stronger. Almost every Toy Story movie, that is the theme of that movie. Okay? Until you get to Cars 2, right? And then once you get to Cars 2 and it's like this spy thriller thing and you're like, what the F? It's not actually a Pixar movie, right? So in my opinion, Up is the peak. This is the most Pixar-ishness, and Toy Story 3 was kind of when it started to go down, but it was still good enough. But then after this point, it's no longer Pixar. Everything after that, it ceased to be Pixar. They are Disney movies, and they aren't the same thing. That's why Up is the quintessential Disney movie. It's like the emotional peak. So it was downhill from that. And it's the most emotional of the movies. So I'm not going to say that it's like the best movie, but it's a particularly important movie because it was basically the last one. That was like, you know, the culmination of everything that they'd done in all of their work. If I was going to say, like, what's their magnum opus, though, it's probably Cars. Cars really is a masterful work. Really is. So there you go. And what do we learn? Disney ruins everything. That's what we learned from that. Disney ruins everything. Yeah, Disney does ruin everything. Prove me wrong. Yeah, basically Disney post Walt Disney. Yeah, they had a thing going there for a little while in the 90s. It was good, but then it was just all downhill again. But you know what I think is the larger problem is it seems to me that corporations destroy anything creative. Anything it's a creative work, running that creative work under a corporation will ruin that work. And the best creative works that we have that are released today are usually because those are the ones that are flying under the radar and the corporation doesn't care enough about to actually do anything with it. And so the creative is actually able to do what they want. That's why, like, Marvel is ruined now, and Pixar is ruined now. Like, basically every movie, Star Wars is ruined now. So as soon as it turns into the corporation, they ruin it. And it's the same thing happens with games. Ooh, so did you hear about this? In China has released new rules about like what you can do in games. So like these sorts of things where like the first time that you play the game, you get some huge reward that they give you, like a special skin. Or you get a reward for logging in every day and doing a task. Just loot boxes in general. Like these are all banned by China now. There was 4 things. I can't remember exactly what they all are, but it was basically like the four basic monetization features of most like microtransaction mini games that you get on your phone. They basically banned all of them. And because it's China, which is one of the biggest, most lucrative gaming markets, there is a good chance that like this starts to have an impact on all games. Could actually happen to all games. I would love to see that happen. I would love to see this kind of like microtransaction world go away. Because there hasn't been the last good shooter that was released was that one by Riot Games. That one, and then Apex Legends, and there hasn't really been any good shooters since. It's been like 5-6 years now, man. Tucker interviewing Putin is the end of the world, but Anthony Blinken meeting and expressing support for the Palestinian Authority, which pays people to play. Dude, what's going on over there with Anthony Blinken is just like kind of hilarious. So it's like Anthony comes over and he's like, you know, we need to solve this thing. You need to make a peace deal, whatever, right? Trying to push them towards accepting a peace deal. And then we find out what the Hamas peace deal actually was. It's stupid. And Israel's like, yeah, that's not happening. F that. Right? He just looks like such a dunce. Because basically all he's doing is going over there and saying, you should have peace with the Palestinians and like smooth everything over. And like, meanwhile, there's like, it's what Hamas is doing is really quite insane. And you really can't negotiate with them. I really don't see how Israel has any other option other than to just decimate and obliterate Hamas and wipe them off the face of the earth. I don't think that there's any other alternative. They're not people that can be reasoned with. You're talking about people that are facing near certain death, and they're still asking Israel to basically surrender and die. Like, well, all of those women who were forced are probably been killed. So, yeah, and the most insane thing about this all is that Joe Biden is hurting in the polls because the left doesn't like his support of Israel. That's like, if that's not irony, man, holy crap. JP Morgan says stocks will fall 20 to 30% from a 2024 peak. JP Morgan equity strategists caution that the upside for global stock markets is now largely capped. We stick to our view that the upside from here appears limited and that equities will fall 20 to 30% from a 2024 peak. Strategists led by Eduardo Lecubari wrote in a note. Why is everybody selling the low in ZN? I don't know. So I'm gonna guess here. I think that there was people with the basis trades on that when they were concerned about NYCB, that they were dumping their basis trades essentially. And now that they had a day up, and let's see here, let's pull that chart back up here again. Okay, they seem to be like doing okay today. So like now that there's panicking is gone, I think that some of those guys are probably putting those trades back on. So we might be seeing net overall selling because of the combination of basis trades and just that, you know, the rates are going to need to go higher based on what the Federal Reserve and all the officials are saying right now. But overall, I would say that the volume is still pretty tight. There's maybe 10,000 contracts net sold over the last hour. So I'm with you. What I'm seeing on the DOM and everything is like a dead market. So it's probably biased to the downside, but when you get that sort of thing, what happens is they'll stop you out on the upside and then they'll turn back down and go to the lows. Probably better to play mean reversion trades. So I'm gonna wait for it to get like above 28.5 to try and sell it, right? Are we waiting? I don't know if they're necessarily waiting for the auction. I mean, the auction is the next big event that's coming up and everything, but I think that this market is kind of turning into a sell volatility kind of market, and when that happens, the treasuries, this is what the treasuries act like. It can be really frustrating. That's why, like, I learned to just not play with it when it's doing that, and wait for opportunities when you really have something that has a good chance of telling you where it's gonna go. Can see a little risk off today, maybe. Yes, it hasn't really done anything too interesting since opening up. It's been one of the more dull openings the past week. Given a no news Friday, maybe an early weekend, I could see that too. So no, you know, there's kind of these things. It's like the no news Monday, Tuesday, and Fridays, right? No news Friday is the worst one. So a no news Friday is by far like the quietest of days. If there's going to be something that happens, it's kind of start at the very beginning, and if they don't, then it's just dead. And it does kind of look like that's what we might be in store for. I'm browsing around again. See me, active trader. Amidst the Fed's ambiguous rate cut plans and economic uncertainty, managing treasury yield curve risk remains crucial. Learn how yield futures offer a way to navigate through yield curve movements effectively. What? So if I try clicking on their link, it goes to t.co, and that is blocked by one of my virus checkers. That's hilarious. Well, I'm not going to bother to fix it at the moment. The GOP colleagues have privately confessed that now dead immigration deal was the toughest one they'd ever... No, the deal that they got was absolutely terrible. Are you kidding me? That's such a joke of a story. What is the highest ROI outside of stocks and real estate with private equity? Have fun with that. I am always skeptical that the stock market is overvalued or on the brink of a large downturn. Then you probably just shouldn't be an investor. Right. Oh, man. How does private equity works? Well, so first of all, you have to either be an accredited investor, a qualified investor, or a friend or family. So, like, if you're doing private equity, usually there's, you know, and it depends on how you're offering it, right? But let's just say that you're starting a small company. You can go to all your friends, you know, and you can, like, raise money from like 15 of your friends or something like that, right? That's how Jeff Bezos started, for instance. Was he went and he raised the money from his friends and family. So that's how you get into private equity. So this is kind of where it's kind of hard, because it's like, well, you have to be friends and family, or you have to be a accredited investor. But then if you are an accredited investor, for instance, I have a Series 65. I haven't started an investment firm with it, and I think that I would maybe need to do that. But basically, I could get involved in those sorts of things, right? But I don't know anybody that's currently doing a private offering right now, do you? So it's hard to get into. But if you get into that world, or you go into like the venture capital side of it, which is kind of similar sort of a thing, right? That is the most lucrative types of investments. Those are the really high risk reward ones, where like when you can put in only a few $1,000s and become millionaires off of it. So it's a very, very powerful type of investment that is basically the average person is basically not allowed to participate in. The average person does not get the opportunity to participate in. But that's basically your options. Is if you're fully funding your retirement, okay, and now you have extra money that you want to invest, you now have the opportunity to take risk. You should take risks. So you got three choices: real estate, stocks, or private equity. And private equity would involve also starting your own business, by the way, okay? So that's the one thing that you can do, is you can just start your own business. Ooh, wow, that last little push to new lows was pretty decent. The change in cumulative delta wasn't huge, but they did trade through some significant blocks of liquidity to do it. I'd say that that's notable. Oh, wow. This post is titled, Robin Hood has ruined my life. Look at that equity curve, man. What the F? Oh, well, yeah, because you bought NVIDIA puts, you idiot. You dunce. Good grief, man. $87,000? Guys. Why don't these people just give me that money? I would lose it more slowly. I just don't. This is why we need to start our momentum fund. Then they can give the money to us, and they can actually get a profit and everything. You know? Instead of this, man, that's... You know, I saw another TikTok that I saw yesterday that super triggered me. Like, I was like, I should stitch this one and make something about it. There's this girl, and she owned 2 NVIDIA shares. Like, she had bought them when it was like worth nothing, and she's had them this whole time. So she's made like $500 to $800 on it or something like that, right? And she says that like every date she's been on in the past month, that the guys have told her that's stupid and that she should sell. And I'm like, it was so triggering to me. It was so triggering to me because, like, I don't know if now is a good time to sell NVIDIA or not. But, like, number one, probably nobody that she's dating is qualified to even be giving her that kind of advice. And number two, like, the most important thing, or the thing that is the biggest thing in stocks is holding time. The longer you hold it, the better. Don't get out of something. If you own a stock and you're doing buy and hold stocks, you don't get out of it unless there is really something fundamental to the company that ruins the company. Should have listened to you on Baba. I don't remember what I was said about it. You notice I tend to be really reluctant to give straight up opinions on stocks, like a call if it's going to be up or down, even though I have a pretty good feel of like what's going on in the stock and what the risks are. But especially when it's like you have a winner like NVIDIA, like when do you get out? Oh my gosh, because like NVIDIA, come on. Okay. Like when we had this stuff right here, we were like, oh my gosh, this is so insane. And the people were like, maybe you should sell it. And then this $100 decline, that's like 20% decline, right? You realize that right there is a 20% decline. So there were already people saying like, yep, it's over, yada, yada. And then look at this, like, holy effing crap. This is an insane move. These kinds, and so everybody will say it's so obviously overbought. Doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter. A stock like this is its own thing. The valuation doesn't matter. All that matters is that people continue to buy it. I think that 6,600 bid looks juicy. Well, given the market conditions, it might be hard for them to get through it. Yeah. It might be hard for them to get to it, given their current market conditions. I don't think that we're going to find out before I have to go. Unless there really is a strong sell meta order out there lurking and it's going to, really start ramping up soon. Well, reading back on your comments, and I'm like, oh, there was a bunch of comments up after that, wasn't there? But maybe you guys deleted it or something. No heavy bids in the rest of the strip. Well, so I don't think there's anything special about that particular price, is there? Actually, maybe there is, because there is like a closing price there and stuff like that. So maybe that's why it's there. That doesn't mean that it's insignificant. It's just... I think one of the things that you'll look at in a market like this is like, oh, we're trending down. Okay, are there like big orders down below us that they're going to go for? Well, look at that one at 16. Oh, wow. That's way bigger than, but it's at 16. Okay. But when you're getting a downtrend, you tend to get those little places down there that it goes to, right? We're not really getting that. I think that that's at 24 because that was the previous day's close. But the way that this is behaving has just been like slow and churn. So it may like slowly grind down there, but I don't think that those 4K lots are going to pull. And the amount of volume that we're trading is like way less than 4Ks. So I think that if we were to get down there, it might take the whole next 40 minutes before I have to go for it to do it, I'm noticing, so I don't know how relevant this is, but like I'm starting to notice a sentiment turn with Taylor Swift. Like ever since the Grammys, apparently she announced a new album at the Grammys, which is like bad form or something like that. But like I've seen TikToks, people criticizing her for having like the largest carbon footprint of any other human being. And all of this sort of, it kind of seems like maybe people are turning against her. Just before her big moment at the Super Bowl. Okay, New York Community Bank Corp is starting to look pretty good there. I don't know. It's like 4 ticks. The way that the pressure is going sure makes me want to hit into it. I suppose I could put a stop limit order there. But that's exactly the sort of situation where there's a stop limit. A lot water doesn't really. Oh, well, 2 ticks up. Ha! I need to shave. It's getting too long. Now, so my news squawk is reminding us of some Fed speakers coming up. They were talking about CB's lane here. Bank of England's man not convinced near-term deceleration in headline inflation will continue. I think situations like this can be the worst for trading, just because when it gets like this, it kind of makes you start to focus on the order flow more, right? Like that's the order flow is the only thing going on. So you start to stress about every tick and how much volume there is there and stuff like that. And you start reading too much into it, and you basically, it kind of coerces you into taking trades in a time when you probably have the least edge in terms of being an informed trader. And then there's not much else going on. Oh, are the Supreme Court doing the stuff about the 14th Amendment thing today? In first question to Trump's lawyer, Justice Clarence Thomas asked whether the 14th Amendment is self-executing. That's going to be interesting to see how that, what the legal bloggers think about this at the end of the day. European indexes have become heavy. Kind of looks to me like with New York Community Bank Corp being up, that it's hard for the S&P 500 to turn too bearish at the moment. Is there a possibility of Supreme Court banning Trump from running? Well, there is a possibility, but I think that there's almost a 95% probability that the Supreme Court is going to rule in Trump's favor on this one. But like I said yesterday, I think that this bears repeating. Right now, when you look at the political situation in the country, it's pretty tight, and a lot of people are concerned about which direction it's going. And a lot of people think, like a very substantial portion of Republicans in particular think that like there could be a civil war in the near future. And I'm just telling you, the chances of like an actual physical civil war is extremely low. There is going to be a war though between Republicans and Democrats, and it's a legal war, and it's already started. It's already started. And that's going to be the world for the next little bit. So prepare yourselves. We're going to be talking about court cases at the Supreme Court a lot more often now. By the way, what's the interest rate right now? 4.15. Okay. Here we're going to get gas stocks. Legally, they could prevent them. No. So let's talk about the case. So there is a provision in the 14th Amendment that basically says that people that have participated in rebellion or insurrection, that they cannot run for federal offices. And this was a provision put into the 14th Amendment, which is the amendment that freed the slaves, essentially, right? That was put in there for, like when the Civil War ended, that these people that were kind of the leaders of the South couldn't become senators and so forth, right? So, in Colorado, there was people that said, well, Donald Trump participated in an insurrection, so he should be barred from being able to run for president. So in Colorado, they made that decision, and then the Colorado Supreme Court said, okay, yeah, you're right. He participated in rebellion, so you're going to stop him. My mustache is starting to tickle my mouth. Anyways, so then it got appealed to the Supreme Court, right? Now, the chances of the Supreme Court agreeing with the Colorado Supreme Court are practically nil. But it's possible. If the Supreme Court upheld Colorado's decision, then yeah, he would be prevented from running, basically. Basically, at that point, I think Republicans would have to pick somebody else. I think that it wouldn't remove him from the ballot everywhere, just in Colorado, but there would probably be enough places that do it. I think it could maybe be a problem. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. I mean, I think there was an effort to try and make that happen in Pennsylvania, though, but I also think if they ruled in that way, that it would be so like public perception of him would be harmed so much as well that I don't think that he would be able to win. That was just one decision that I don't think he'd be able to win. It's just that there's almost zero chance that they rule that way. But we're going to go through all of the motions. And they're going to be fast about it. Like, I think that the Supreme Court has already started drafting their decisions. Probably the way that this will come out legally, though, is that they will say, well, the states don't necessarily have the authority to come in and say to execute that. And the federal government has already created laws relating to this thing, and you haven't prosecuted him for that crime, so you can't remove him from the ballot for that crime. That's what I think they're going to say. Well, there's a pretty decent push back up. So if I wanted to get short, I could maybe use these prices. That's one. I actually think it's probably a good trade. Like short 28 is probably a pretty good trade, but I have zero interest in taking it when it's this tight, right? Should have done some programming today. We should have just tried to program an Ishimoku strategy. Probably a little too late now. According to the World Economic Forum, travel will be for the elites. The poor will use VR headsets. Yeah. You'll stay home. You'll eat bugs. And you'll have sex with plastic. That's the future they have in store for you, but folks. And if you want to see amazing things in the world, you just look at them through VR. It's already coming way too true. VR headset that allows you to actually go around and have a half interactive worlds and such, yada yada. You know, the movie, yeah, just like that. Well, okay, so did you see yesterday that Disney has invested $1.5 billion into Epic Games? Because Epic Games was like the last, was kind of the last one that was like, we're all in on the metaverse, just like with Facebook, but like they're actually kind of having some success with it and everything. So I think what that means is that all Disney properties will be coming soon to Fortnite. It's what's coming. Yes, they want something like Ready Player One, kind of, yes. But where they basically they want a world where anybody can create custom content and sell it, and then they can take a small portion of it. It's kind of funny because Epic had that whole lawsuit against Apple and all of that, but it kind of seems like that's ultimately what they want to do. And the reason that they have such a problem with Apple is because they want to make their money from their own store, right? I don't know. I'm in an abusive relationship with Epic Games, okay? They're like that abusive ex that I just don't want to quit. That's what it is. Like if Epic called me up and were like, "Hey, we're having an event. We want you to come." I'd be in an instant. And I would sit there and I would be nice and not say anything mean and not criticize them or anything. Right? I would totally play the lackey, whatever. But I don't trust them one bit. I do not trust them one bit because they have effed us over like at every turn. The community. And this metaverse that they're trying to create kind of sounds kind of dystopian to me. Not that it's going to be like a huge deal, but it's maybe not ideal. But it kind of seems like it is going to happen now. Because that company is now worth like $10 billion. Tim Sweeney owns 50% of it. Like for them to make an investment like that, like one point, that makes the company worth over $10 billion. It's really crazy amounts you're talking about. So it is happening. So if you want to get into the metaverse, right? You want to be like an influencer in the metaverse or an expert on the metaverse, now's the time to get into it. Just start playing Fortnite. Because that seems to be the way it's going. I don't understand the scenario Jiwi is, so I'm not going to read that out. I'm not 100% sure the way that this is all going to go with Fortnite, because so far it's kind of been like integrating things into Fortnite, but now there's like other mini games in Fortnite. Eventually it's going to change, right? I don't know what it's actually going to be. The thing you got to understand is that like the metaverse has been Tim Sweeney's dream from the very beginning. Like the actual pitch for Unreal was that you would have levels, and these levels would have portals at the end of them, and those portals would allow you to travel into an adjacent server, so that you would have this world that would just continue on forever. And you can even see it in the engine, because they have this whole thing where if you create a box and you put a sheet in front of it, and you can make that a portal and you can teleport. And all of the way that works was designed with that in mind, but then they realized that the network infrastructure just didn't exist for it. So it's what they've always wanted to do. Yeah, it basically means that Disney properties will be coming to Fortnite. So do you remember this? What was the name of there was like a Disney metaverse sort of MMO game sort of a thing they're basically using Epic to do that now. So I would expect to see like all of the Marvel properties in there, even if it's just like skins in Fortnite. But I think it'll be more than that. It'll probably be individual games. Like my bet is that Epic is working on some sort of a mini game that is completely Disney Universe focused stuff right now. Put a chicken in Maker game. Yeah. Well, did I not? I told you that I think a short at 28 is a good trade. Huh? That's not bad. I actually came back down there to the bottom way faster than I thought. I thought that if I did that and I was trying to take a profit at like at the low of the day, that it would be another 15 minutes before I'd get filled. So that happened a little faster than I thought. There was definitely some selling in there on that. Maybe if they're able to get through 25, you could see some extended, but that large order that we had been talking about at 24 is not there anymore. So S&P is turning down here a little bit, which is interesting because New York Community Bank Corp looks to be doing pretty good right now. It's right at resistance levels, but it does look like they're going to breach it. There you go. Yeah. Whether you're a nerd care or not, giant dragon fighting magic world would be better than this flimsy real life. I don't really think so. I don't really think so, to be honest with you. I've seen the metaverse and I think it's kind of lame. So let me take that from like a different direction. The dystopia of Ready Player One, I don't think would ever work. I don't think that people would give up their real lives for the metaverse because it is simply not convincing. And that's not even, you would say, oh, well, the technology is just not there yet. When you have graphics that are perfectly realistic and it's being beamed directly into your retina and you can feel it in everything with your nerves, then it's going to be a different thing and you're not going to want to go and do anything else. I don't think so. Because it's still fake. It's still all fake. And I think that the majority of people will still care more about the real physical world. Like, what makes the metaverse interesting is your ability to do things that you can't do in real life. And the monetization and like gameplay scheme that they're always setting up for these things does not do that. They're not compelling. They're just weak imitations of real life. We should let them do it because what good are they or what good would they be for anyways? I do think that there could be this time where, like, you know, you could make a living being in the metaverse. I think that's going to happen. I might even be there. If the instant that Epic puts something in that game that actually appeals to me, I'm there. Right now, I think it's all stupid. But, you know, if they made like a Unreal Tournament expansion to Fortnite, then I would play that obsessively. I would be there playing every day to try and be one of the top most recognizable names in Unreal Tournament again. Can't help it. But that, like I said, that's why I say, like, I am in an abusive relationship with Epic. I just don't. Like, I can't hate them. I can't not love them. But I do know that they're probably going to hurt me, right? It's just... weak imitations in the English. I mean, this is one of the other things is that I think that like for instance with the Apple headset thing, right? So the innovation with the Apple headset is not that it's a VR headset and it's really nice, right? The innovation with their VR headset is that the headset has cameras on it that can track your hands and allow you to interact with that metaverse, and has an interface that you can use your hands. Because before you had these little controllers in your hands, right? Now you can actually use your hands and type, and you can even type and stuff. And so you see these videos of people like typing on it and everything. And what I'm saying is that I think part of the advantage of the computer is that it allows you to have an interface with the technology that is more efficient than the interface that you have with the real world. And so translating it into this thing where you're like touching is not appeal to me at all. An interface where I can do everything on the keyboard as quickly as possible is more appealing to me. Or one where it's just me thinking about it, right? The thing that Elon Musk is doing with like human brain or computer brain interfaces, rather, that would be like a game changer. If I could do all of my work just thinking about it and it was faster than typing it, I'd be there, right? But an interface that is like exactly like real life, but you know, like you're still playing your fantasy or whatever, is not. I don't think it's as amazing as people are making it out to be. I don't think that it's amazing enough that people would let or that the majority of people would let their own real lives deteriorate over it. You know, of course, there are people that already let their lives waste away with the current technology that we have, but I don't think that the majority of people will do that now. Well, they kind of touched a new low and then ticked back up. Touched the new low and then 2 ticks up. So but that's the other thing is that like I don't think it's going to be Apple. I think it's more likely to be Epic than Apple. If somebody becomes, you know, the world's richest company off of the metaverse. There's another uptick. Would I have gotten filled at 25F? I think I would have, but I guess I might have had to have gone for 26. That's still 4 ticks. I'm reading some more right-wing websites now, and man, they are really interested in the Tucker Carlson interview. Not really hearing about it anywhere else, but I think everybody's gonna watch it. I think everybody's gonna watch it. I think it's gonna be a nothing burger, but I think everybody's gonna watch it. Oh, look, now there's, I wonder if Epic Games ever becomes a stock. That'd be interesting. Now there's a story about it on Wall Street Bets. Well, if Disney comes to Epic Games, that's the end. Gamers are not like viewers who can stand anything. Yeah, no. I think that gamers have actually, put up with quite a bit. In fact, I'm kind of wondering if the gamers are more placid than the moviegoers. Oh yeah, people putting him in his place. Okay, cool. Kind of funny too, because I would probably argue that Epic has been in dire straits. They did like big layoffs and everything. So like for this to be turned, this Disney investing in them is probably like preventing them from going under, right? And now it's turning into like this huge deal that big plus for them. Do you trade any crypto? No. I would not recommend day trading cryptocurrencies. I mean, I wouldn't recommend day trading in general unless you're just obsessed with it, but I would particularly not recommend day trading cryptocurrencies. It's a really good way to just lose a ton of money. Something I think that's so funny about retail traders. So here's a day trading thread question. Do you remember when you first became profitable? Was there a pivotal moment after learning something, or did it happen so gradually that you can't really place a specific point? Share your story. So they think that like profitability is the state, because the way that they think of it is that it's like an equation that you have to solve, and if you solve the equation, then you'll start making money. And that's not the way that it actually works. The market is competitive, so it is like a day-by-day struggle. Yeah. It's a ding, boom, profit, and then suddenly you're a great trader. That's the way they think it works out. Here's Ukrainian conflict. Tucker Carlson's Putin interview seems timed for maximum damage. I really do not understand what damage they think this interview is going to do. Okay. Sebastian, I remember you. Absolutely, I do. You're from Chile? Yeah. No, I totally remember. How are you doing? I mean, I don't remember anything about you, but I definitely recognize the name. And I remember you were here pretty consistently and participated a lot. What they are really wanting, though, is the light bulb aha moment. Well, yeah, because they think that there's some pattern, and that if you just understand what that pattern is, then you can make money from it. And it doesn't really work that way for day trading, right? It doesn't even really work that way for like swing trades. Like if you're doing a momentum strategy, like the whole thing is that managing a momentum strategy is like really quite a wild and stressful ride the whole time. So you're never going to be sitting there thinking like, oh, ding, I've made it and now I'm profit. No, it's just you're always going to be stressed all the time about it. Right, but they've been listening to these stories of people that were like scalping in the early 2000s, and they think that it's like you just found this one trick and then you make money from it every day, and it just doesn't work like that anymore. Those sorts of things in trading are very rare, and that, you know, only happen in a few key moments in history. It's not a light bulb. It's playing a game of basketball. Is there some aha moment where all of a sudden everything clicks and then you're a good basketball player? No. How good you're doing at playing the game of basketball, the biggest factor in how well you're doing is who you're playing against, right? If you're playing basketball against a bunch of 5-year-olds, then you're gonna trade awesome, right? That's basically what trading is you have these companies that have literally millions of dollars and thousands of people building infrastructure to assist these people in their trading, and then they're trading against you, right? That's what this game is. And there's not like one little pattern. If there was one little pattern, then everybody would do it, and then it wouldn't exist anymore, right? It's a giant field of infinite possibilities of things that could potentially work, that you kind of have to go in and find it. And if you find one and the rest of the market picks up on it, then it disappears. And especially on a day time frame. So it's an ever evolving game. It's just like any other kind of sport, right? The strategies that you need to use and what is going to depend on who you're playing against and what the situation is and all of these other things. So that means that there can be space for you as a retail trader to find some sort of an edge in the market that has been overlooked. It's possible. It's just, it's super, super crazy hard to find it. And yes, it's impossible for you as a retail trader to be more informed in the market and, you know, beat the market to a certain edge and make money off of it. But it's really stacked against you because you're trading against people that have a lot more resources than you do. Doesn't mean that it's not worth trying, but I kind of have to like temper people's enthusiasm. You're probably not going to become a millionaire from it. I would probably look at this more as that it's likely to be a hobby for you rather than like your whole living. These people that are claim to be making livings off of it, they're taking on exceptional, like very excessive levels of risk in order to do that, and they almost always blow up in the end. Yeah, if it's a pattern, it's a secret, and it's going to be really complicated, right? Just sit and think, okay, how smart am I compared to Seth? I think I'm a pretty smart person, okay? I'm not the smartest person around, but I'm a pretty smart person. I understand a lot about the market. I understand a lot more than most retail traders do, okay? But not the top. I'm not a quant at a firm. I think I would have a hard time getting hired by Jane Street, for instance. maybe I could work towards it, but I think that if I was doing it today, I think I might have a hard time getting hired by them, unless they really wanted my programming experience. But like in terms of my understanding of some of these strategies that they use, and I don't have that direct industry experience, right? So, but I do have some things going for me, and it's a lot more than the average retail trader, right? And so you just have to ask yourself, like, am I smarter than Seth? Because Seth works his butt off and then most of the time just kind of treads water, right? So if you don't think that you're smarter or know more about this than Seth, you know, probably you're not going to make money from it, right? How smart am I compared to Seth? Well, I have more hair and a better beard. What? So no. So then your answer is no, right? Is that? You know what I really need to do is I need to just let the beard continue to grow and start a programming language. That's how all of the greats in the tech do it, right? So you start your own language, and you have to have, you know, to be trusted to start your own language or framework, you have to have a beard. So you have to have an epic beard. So I need one that's like down to here. Like I would still keep it neat, but you know, make it really big. You know, cover my whole neck at least down to here. Ooh, that would take a few years, wouldn't it? I don't think I have the patience to grow that big of a beard. Do you remember buying order flow from big firms with Rob? No. So when I worked for the banks, you know, we got all of the hedge fund order flows. So I would say that they got the order flow that was much more valuable than the stuff that Robinhood gets, frankly. So when I talked to the traders, they said that they knew many people that, you know, they were traders for the firm, and then they left the firm and tried to trade for themselves, and almost all of those people failed. They said, like, some really good traders that there was, you know, the edges that they had when they worked at the firm, they were not able to duplicate them outside of the firm because they didn't have like the institutional order flow and the same like intelligence gathering and all that sort of stuff. Like I recall them saying that there was like one or two guys that they knew that had really made it, and the rest kind of languished. So doesn't that tell you something? Like that the people that are at the top of this game basically saying like, I wouldn't do this. Well, I think that there are ways to do this that involve very, very minimal amounts of money, and you learn a lot, and there can be a lot of opportunities that can come from it. So I think that it's worth doing, but just don't go into it with the idea that you're going to make it a living and you can become a millionaire from it, because it's probably not going to work out that way unless you get lucky. If that happens, you got lucky. Seriously. Even if you were really smart and you had a really good strategy, you would still not completely become a millionaire without a little bit of luck. Well, let's get to the top of the game. Well, this goes back to that thing that we were talking about earlier. I think that there are a lot of people in the retail trading space that could probably translate to being institutional traders and be really successful at it, and would be better than the institutional traders. But they're only interested in picking up people that went to Ivy Leagues and have these big family names and all of this sort of stuff. So I think that the people that have the potential to be the best traders are basically always looked over. They're basically always looked over. They would never hire like retail traders. I don't think I've ever. They almost all come right out of school. it's kind of a problem across the whole economy, but in finance in particular, they can just pick from only the top universities, and it results in a certain kind of workforce and certain way of doing things that there's positives and minuses from it. And then what has happened is everybody else wants to act like the banks. They all want to be, because all of their corporate values and the way that corporations are run these days, almost all of it was stolen from Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan in the 70s. They all adopted the same corporate values essentially and tried to make their company like Goldman and JP Morgan. So all of these other companies are trying to act like the banks and only want people that come from certain schools and, match perfectly this, that, and the other. They don't exist. There's not enough of them, and that's why they're not hiring people. They're having a hard time finding qualified applicants for the job. There's plenty of qualified applicants. You're just throwing them in the trash because they didn't go to the right school. And you know how I know? You know how I know? Because I went to a big bank right out of school. It's ridiculous, dude. Like the number of recruiters that I get for jobs that have nothing to do with what I do. Right? They only care if you in tech. It's in tech. If you went to a big bank or one of the top tech firms, so like Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, right? If you went to one of those, from there on you're set, right? Like if you worked for Google for a couple of years and then you get laid off, it will be so easy for you to find a job somewhere else in a local company. Because they just search their whole day looking for that guy that came from Google. Because for some reason, that's all the recruiters care about. I don't think that it's actually a very good predictor of that somebody will be a good fit for the role, but I benefit from it. I am pretty good at my role, though, I think. The thing that's kind of funny with work and me is that when I'm working, I often feel like, I don't know if I'm doing a very good job. I'm making all these mistakes. I don't know about this thing and about that thing. Not working as hard. I have a hard time staying focused and getting as much done as I would like. But then, I'll solve the problems, I'll get the thing done, and everybody's really happy and impressed. And it took me a long time to realize that actually you are very valuable in this. And there is some very good reasons why you excel at this in ways that others don't, even though you don't feel like that you're performing at your potential. And probably that my expectations of performing at my potential are a little unrealistic, frankly. Yeah, is it imposter syndrome? I don't know if it's quite the same thing as imposter syndrome. Because I don't come in and I'm like, I'm not qualified to do this. I don't know how to do that sort of a thing. Because the one thing that I'm good at and that has always helped me is that I can come into a new thing and learn it completely and understand it and really be on the cutting edge of stuff in a way that other people can't. I excel at that very beginning part of learning a lot more than most people do. I don't know why that is, but that's just always been the case. Well, I am ADHD, so I do take ADHD medications. That helps. That was the thing that kind of, that's also the thing that was kind of my journey, was that when I worked for the bank, I always felt like it was really stressful and that the demands on you and everything were really high. And I'm not sure if I was completely up to it. And so that was the thing that kind of prompted me to go back on medication. Because basically I had medication from like 2nd grade until I graduated from high school. And then I didn't take medication when I was at university. Probably should have. I would have done better. But, I wanted to like meet people and like develop my social life and stuff. I don't know how successful I was with that, but I definitely wasn't important for me to have that time period. It really was. I wouldn't be able to do this and talk with you guys, for instance, before that. And, but then once I got back on the medication, it took me a couple of years, but now I've kind of come into this place of like hyper productivity. So like I can't do it all the time, but once a month I can have this period or this week where I just get insane amounts of things done. And the amount of things that I can get done just like absolutely swamp everybody else. So very rare that I actually do it unless there's like a real serious like issue going on at that time and we all need to work as quickly as possible. Because otherwise, like everything just gets jammed up in the pipeline. Like I'm doing all this work and I'm waiting on reviews and things like that, right? So I've gotten good enough at it that I can move into hyper productivity for a period. I need to get my PhD then. Well, just get prescribed some Adderall. But it's not just that like you can go in and be hyper productive, right? Like the key thing that I've learned to do that I don't think that most people learn to do, certainly not ADHD people, but even regular people don't learn how to do, is to manage it. Because if you come in and you try to be 110% all the time, you're going to kill yourself, right? You cannot actually perform at 110% all the time. I think the reality is that most people can only perform like 70% most of the time. And if you are performing like 110% one day, that's probably going to affect your performance on a different day, right? So you have to learn like what your limitations are and know what you have to do and what's important to you to go into that, right? And that's when I'm able to come in and say, okay, I'm going to take it easy Friday night, and then Saturday, I'm going to study hard for Series 65. Take some medication, just do tests, and I can do 3-6 hours worth of studying. And like what kind of person will consistently do that at age 38? Like most people can't handle doing that after college, right? They just don't have the focus, the desire to do that. It's super hard, and for me, I have no problem, and I love doing it, right? So I don't think that it was ever imposter syndrome. It was coming to a realization of how I'm different from other people, because you kind of assume that everybody's like you, right? You think that everybody else is just doing what you're doing and is thinking what you're doing, and then all of a sudden there's a certain point at which it comes out to like, oh, actually, no, you're not. You're actually really weird. And there are things that are really, really positive about that, and there are things that are really, really negative about that. NZT, for what does that mean? It wasn't a new low, was it? No, it was just touching the previous low. They're hitting it with a 100 lot, though, so maybe they'll make a new low. Oh, you know what? Like, we're over time, though. I said I don't think that they'll get to 24 before we're done. I guess they didn't, so. I am a little bit, I don't want to miss out for them to start going down just because I got scared out of the trade and I should have stayed in that swing trade, right? But I'm going to wait until after CPI before I do something about that, right? That was from the movie Limitless. Okay. Yeah. So like I did this week. You know, I spent more time on the computer and everything so that I could get all of this infrastructure done because I like really wanted to get that out of the way. And I'll probably do it on the weekend too, like working on the table, get that out of the way. And then I'll probably have some periods where I'm relax a little bit and recuperate. Because if you're going 100% all the time, there's like not enough brain chemicals to do that. So you kind of have to know your limitations and then like plot it out. Like this is the time that I'm going to do that and get the most out of that time. And part of it is here for the trading, that I have everything set up so that I can be my tops when I'm trading. Today, not so much because sleep didn't work very well last night, but that'll happen. And then we deal with that. And we're lucky that it happens on a day where there wasn't really a whole lot to trade anyways. Maybe could have made 4 ticks. It's not that great. Well, there is some support at 24. That's true. But it still kind of looks like it's in this mode that like the support there's definitely going to be pushback, let's say. If you're God gifted, you get it done. I don't think I'm God gifted. I just think that I can become hyper productive in a way that a lot of people can't, and there's like limitations to it. Right? But well, I was only bringing that up in this whole thing where you're saying, is that imposter syndrome? I don't think that it was. It was a misunderstanding of like what my abilities are compared to everybody else. Because I've never felt imposter. I've always felt like I belong there and have absolutely no reservations whatsoever in being able to eventually tackle the problem that's in front of me, right? Like I think that it kind of takes a little bit of ego to think like I could start a hedge fund, right? But I really do think that I could start a hedge fund. I'm probably going to need to meet the right people to do it, but that's kind of like the goal now. Gotta go, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Stay excellent, team. Yeah, we'll try. If you have ideas about things to program, keep them in mind because we'll probably have time to do that tomorrow. It's probably going to be slow, but I'll see you then. Stay excellent, team.